prognostication and talk, all the preparation and practice has come down to this. Oklahoma versus Florida, Big 12 versus SEC. To the winner goes a national championship. Oh, and Big 12 play starts in basketball too. From the Dodge Sports Desk, I'm Jenny Carlson, and this is OU Sports with John Helsley. All right, John, game time's almost here. Seems like it's been a long time since there's been any football played by the Sooners, but Thursday night in Miami, national championship game. Let's talk about some nitty-gritty stuff. What are the major storylines to watch as this game gets closer?
Well, I think there are some that we've been talking about, Jenny, and one is the Florida defense. You know, can they keep up with Oklahoma's fast tempo game? I think that's going to be real key to watch. They've had time. They've had preparation now. I think that's going to be real critical how they approach it as well.
Yeah. A lot's been made of SEC versus Big 12, especially SEC defenses versus Big 12 offenses. Texas Tech didn't fare so well against Mississippi, who's not known as a great defensive team. What does all that mean? Does it mean anything as we head towards this national championship game?
Well, I think the one thing you can take from that is if you watched the game, Mississippi and Texas Tech, Mississippi never huddled. They just basically stood at the line of scrimmage and, kind of like, it was almost like backyard ball. It was like, I got him, you got him. They didn't get caught off guard, which is what Oklahoma likes to do to people as well. So I think if Florida takes that approach and will just, basically say, who you got, I think that maybe that's an answer. I don't know if it's the answer, but maybe it's an answer that nobody else has really found to slow Oklahoma down so far.
What about the amount of time that these two teams have been off? It has been a long time since they played, and they've had a lot of preparation time. Does that benefit anybody in particular?
If it benefits anybody, I would say it benefits Florida. And from this standpoint, it's hard to simulate what Oklahoma does. And I don't know that Florida can simulate it even now. But if anything, you can just go through day after day, all this preparation time, working to be lined up in the right place. It's hard to do that in 3 days of real practice time during regular season. But maybe with extra time to prepare, maybe they can, somehow come up with a plan, like we're talking about maybe what Mississippi did to combat Oklahoma's quick play.
Let's turn our attention to basketball because it's time for Big 12 play. Hard to believe that we're here already. Sooners have one more game before they start conference play, one more non-conference game. What have we learned about this team at this point?
Well, what we've learned is they're a pretty good team. And, the Arkansas game put a little bit of a wart onto what they've done so far. But they did real well in the non-conference schedule. They're 13-1. We already knew Blake Griffin was really good. We learned that he's even better than he was a year ago. I think we also learned that they're a team that in crunch time plays pretty well. They've won some games late, and they've played well late in games. So I think there's a lot of positives there. One of the other things we've learned on the negative side is they need some bench help. They're not getting a lot of production off their bench, not getting a lot of minutes off their bench. How important that is down the road, I don't know. But Blake Griffin's played a bunch of minutes already so far, and when he plays, he usually gets pounded on. So we'll see if that has any effect.
OU in their non-conference schedule played Purdue, USC, Utah, Arkansas, that loss at Arkansas. Those are some pretty tough opponents. Those are probably all NCAA tournament teams when March comes around. Did that prepare the Sooners pretty well for Big 12 play in your mind?
I think so. And, some of those games were in New York City on a big stage. Purdue went to overtime. And like I mentioned earlier, they've been tested, and they've also had to win games, kind of had to come up with ways to win some games late. I think that benefits them. If there's one area, and maybe we saw this at Arkansas, where they didn't get prepared fully, is a big-time road crowd. And that was really the first time they'd been anywhere in the non-conference to where the crowd was really raucous and against them. So that'll be something to watch as you go forward.
As good as they've been in the non-conference, are there still some questions that linger? Because as you look around the Big 12, obviously Texas has shown itself to be a pretty darn good team. Kansas, okay. I mean, it looks like if the Sooners take care of some business, they could win a conference championship this year. But are there questions, and is the bench the biggest of them all?
I think it is. If you get a day where Blake Griffin gets in foul trouble early, you've got to have somebody come in. Ryan Wright has played okay in that role. He's not the scorer that Blake is. I don't know that he has to be. The other question is, who's their consistent number 3 scorer? It's been Blake and Willie Warren, especially lately. They need somebody to be reliable as that third guy.
All right. Well, John will continue providing in-depth coverage of Oklahoma sports as football season winds up and basketball season cranks up. To follow all the news and analysis, stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.